so they believe for the they believe for the miracles. Listen, they received the miracles. The miracle realm, they were good with the healings and stuff. They were good with that. But at the end, I felt the glory come again in another way. And the Lord said, Jeff, tell them I'm going to fill their teeth with gold. And I went, oh man, because there were there were Mennonites in there. It was a different kind of a meeting, different kind of a people. They liked the healings, the healing realm. You know, it's by His stripes you're healed. But then when it came to the miracle realm, you know, or signs and wonders, that was a little bit different. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll tell them. And I said, now after we testified and all these people stood up and there were all kinds of healings, I said, now the Lord's going to fill your teeth with gold. And you could have, it felt like a cold chill went through the building. It was like that was a little too much. And I had to navigate it. And I said, okay, Lord, you said. And I said, listen to me. Open your mouths. And they looked at me like, oh man. You know, I've never heard this before. This meeting's getting weird. I said, open your mouths. God's going to fill your mouths. And they just looked at me like a calf looking at a new gate. You know, kind of like. Now that thing opens. They looked at me like, now what? I said, open your mouth. God's going to do miracles. So they reluctantly opened their mouths like, okay, we go that far. You know, and I said, Lord, fill their mouths with gold. Fill their mouths with glory. And I felt the glory. See, because the glory of God is a vibration. I felt the glory come.
Amen.
And it kind of, and then I said, okay, now I want you to go to 10 different people and check. And they looked at me like, kidding, right? I want you to go to 10 different people, and the gold that you got from the dentist, you can't count that. It doesn't count. This is, God's going to, you know, go to 10 different people, look and ask, open your mouth and look for gold. Nobody moved. I said, come on now, you came this far with me, just do it. And they looked, nobody moved. It took me literally 5 minutes just to get people to move. Just do it, just, come on. You can just do it. You want to see miracles? If you want to see the new, you got to do something new. Finally, you know, there were a couple of people that got up out of their seats and they were, you know, they moved over here, and there were a couple of people in the back, but most of the people just sat there like, oh boy, this meeting took a dive, you know, that kind of a thing. And there were some women standing in the pockets, and I said, get your flashlight out, you know, get your little, you know, key light or whatever. And they started looking, and finally, you know, there was like 5 women, Mennonite women. They had like the, you know, Pentecostal bun, you know, the whole thing. And they were standing over there.
Funny.
They had the Pentecostal bun and the, you know, she was, you know, one of them was quite heavy set and had the Pentecostal dress on with the bun. And they started looking. There was a couple people looking in the back, maybe a few over here, but most of them were just kind of talking like, this meeting's a little weird now. Some people got up and left, but they started looking, checking up front. And they started looking at each other's mouth. I said, look 10 times. And they all looked like 4 and 5 times. And finally one of them said, hey, you got a gold tooth, to the Pentecostal woman with the bun. The Pentecostal woman with the big with the bun. She said, oh, I do not. Because they had looked 4 or 5 times already now. I don't have a gold tooth. And one of them said, yeah, you do. You got a big gold tooth in the back. She said, did you? Because they didn't have her. She didn't have it before. They had looked several times. She said, I do not. She pulled out one of these little mirrors, you know, the makeup, you know, click thing. And it's like, she put it in her mouth and she saw and she went, the shock of the, it wasn't a filling. It was a gold tooth. And she went into a Pentecostal laugh. You know, Pentecostal, great big, you know, Pentecostal laugh. Holy, And she bent down laughing. When she stood up, they looked in her mouth. She had another one. 2 gold teeth. And they go, you got another one? You got another one? No. And then she looked at it, and something's happening over here. And people are watching, you know. There's some in the back, and they're kind of, what's going on? And people are starting to gravitate toward the front. And they looked in the mouth and said, you got another one? And she said, I do not. You know, looked again, and she went, oh! You know, went into the woo-hoo-hoo, Pentecostal laugh, woo-hoo, and bending down with the woo-hoo-hoo, came back up, and they looked in her mouth. She had another one. There was 3. She went down again, came up 4 crowns. Miracles were happening, right? And they're looking like, oh my gosh, you know, and went down again. 5, 6, 7, 8 gold crowns. 8 gold crowns. And then they began to pop like popcorn. Because people believe all things are possible to those who believe. And as it was happening here, the miracle was manifesting. They were believing, and people started believing, and they received.
Amen.
You can believe and receive, or doubt and go without.